Welcome back to the Creatives Do Business Well podcast, a space of co-creation for solo creative entrepreneurs just like you, craving that transition from being a struggling artist to a successful creator. Keisha here. I'm your host, your multi-passionate business sister, and photographer turned holistic brand and content strategist. I tie branding, content creation, systems, and scaling your business back to everyday life. And my goal is to help you not only run a business, but find that sweet balance between your passion and profits and doing business as a creator exceptionally well. I have noticed this pattern when I talk about all the different things that I'm passionate about. My mentoring that I've gotten into with Keisha Creates, my content creation, photography, all these different businesses and projects that I'm building, I can pretty much predict what's coming when I'm talking to somebody. There is this look, and I know you've seen it. The slightly confused, slightly concerned expression people get when you start talking about all of these different interests and projects that you're working on. Okay, you're doing too much look. These days, I'm actually really mindful about who I share all of my projects with, because I know most people are working with the same mind frame, this idea that we should just pick one thing and stick to it. And that's exactly what we're getting into in today's episode. Honestly, how many times have you been so excited about a new idea or a project, a passion of yours, only to have somebody tell you, wait, I thought you was focusing on that other thing. Maybe you should just pick one thing and stick to that. I've heard it so many times. Jack of all trades, master of none. You need to specialize to succeed. Nobody's going to take you serious if you're all over the place. And I really believed that for a long time. I really did. I kept trying to force myself to pick just one thing, one passion, one path. But whenever I did that, I felt incomplete. Like I was shutting down parts of myself just to make other people comfortable with how they could label me. If you've ever felt that between all the things that you love to do and this pressure to just pick one thing, this conversation might be for you. But why does society push us to be so one-dimensional? Why do we keep hearing this pick one thing advice everywhere? Think about it. We grew up in a world that was basically set up during times when factories needed workers, and back then the goal was simple. We're not living in that world anymore, but we're still stuck with these old ideas. Schools tell you to pick one major, one career track, and stick with that. When you apply for jobs, they want you to fit perfectly into their little box with one clear job title. Even in creative field, places that should understand creativity, people still want to put you in a category like, oh, she's a photographer, he's a podcast host, they're a graphic designer. But what I've realized, these structures weren't built with creative minds in mind. They weren't built for people who see connections between so many unrelated things. They weren't built for people whose creativity expands over multiple dimensions, and they absolutely weren't built to honor the whole person, your mind, your body, your spirit, and your energy. Because when all of these parts of you work together, that's when you really create your best work, when you feel truly fulfilled, and when your ideas connect in ways that actually change things. Trying to force a multi-passionate creative into a single focused box is like trying to dim the sunlight in a sense. You might succeed temporarily, but eventually that light is going to find its way to shine, because that's what it's meant to do. And I want to reframe being multi-passionate as a strength for people who are struggling with this. Being multi-passionate is not the problem. The problem is that we've never been taught how to manage multiple passions in a way that actually works. The world loves to celebrate people who are exceptional at this one thing, but if you really look at the people that we admire, whether it's artists, entrepreneurs, creators, innovators, most of those people didn't stick to one thing. Look at Issa Rae. She went from writing web series to producing, acting, music, and launching all of these different brands. Rihanna started with music. Then she built a billion-dollar beauty empire, a lingerie brand, and a luxury fashion line. Tyler Perry didn't stop at writing plays. He created movies. He built a production studio. Nobody told all of these people just pick one thing. If they did, they didn't do it. They found ways to build around their gifts instead of shrinking them. Real innovators, the people who truly change the culture, aren't confined to one lane. They're the ones who bring perspectives from multiple places and create something entirely new in that process, bringing all of those things together. So I want you to bring your whole self to work when you clock into your business. So what does this mean to really bring your whole self to your work? Not just your skills, but everything that makes you, you. Think about how our brain works for a minute. It loves new things, new challenges, new ideas to a certain extent. That's why doing different types of work actually keeps you sharp and creative. When you're stuck just doing one thing all day, your brain gets bored. Then there's your body. Some days you feel like being active and creating physical things. Other days you want to sit quietly and work on your computer. Your body has its own rhythms, and ignoring them just leads to you feeling drained. There's also that deeper part of you that needs to feel like your work matters, and sometimes one type of work just can't give you all the purpose that you're looking for, which always gets me when people are always talking about what's your purpose or this is your purpose. Like, I'm not confined to one thing when it comes to my purpose. And looking at your energy levels, even, they go up and down. There are times when you're super excited about writing and times when you would rather be designing or teaching or talking or building something with your hands. Fighting against those natural shifts is just going to burn you out. When you pay attention to all these parts of yourself, your work feels real. It has a spark to it. People can feel that authenticity and they can connect with it. And when you look around, that's not what we're taught. We're told to be one person at work and another person at home, to keep our personal values separate from our business, to ignore how our bodies feel and just push through with whatever's on the schedule. And I'm calling BS on all of that because I believe that the strongest business you can build is one where you don't have to split yourself into pieces. It's not that we can't do multiple things. We can. We need a better way to align and manage those things. You don't want to feel like you're constantly juggling a million things and getting nowhere. You don't want to start 5 different projects and abandon them halfway through because you're so overwhelmed. One of my favorite things to say as a multi-passionate is multi-passionate does not mean multitask. You don't want to be so drained from managing everything that your creativity suffers. So the real question isn't, can I do it all? It's how do I do it in a way that actually works? How can I create a system out of this thing? And I love systems. I say it all the time. I'm a systems girl. And this is where most traditional business advice fails multi-passionate creatives because it assumes your goal is to scale in just one direction, to do more of that one same thing, just do it bigger. But what if your version of growth looks different? What if it's about depth and not just scaling? What if it's about creating connections between all of those different passions and not just choosing one of those things? That's where alignment comes into play. Alignment isn't forcing yourself to focus on one thing. You want to find what connects all of those interests and using that as your guide and what your next step is going to be, how you're going to build that business, what your next project is going to be, how you're going to create content. If you've been struggling with this, it's not your fault. Most of the advice out there is not designed for multi-passionate creatives. Business coaches will tell you to niche down before you even know what lights you up. So you've created this whole business around that one thing that you've niched and you don't even like it anymore. Or the productivity gurus are going to tell you to stick to this strict schedule and they don't honor the way creative minds actually work. And society loves to reward you specializing in one thing while completely ignoring the fact that some of the most impactful people and influential people in the world didn't specialize in anything at all. Why are we listening to this advice anyway? Society wants you to fit into boxes because boxes are easier to understand, easier to market, easier to control. But that's why you have somebody like me, because you can fit all of these things into one brand, one business in your marketing plan. The corporate world thrives on specialization because specialists are replaceable. You can always find another person to fill that one specific role. Think about it. But real creators, true innovators, they always went beyond these boundaries. They always brought together all of these unrelated skills and interests so they can create something new. And those people were always a threat too. Think about how many innovations come from crossing all of these paths, from somebody bringing knowledge from one field into another. That is the power of being multi-passionate. You don't want to limit yourself. You want to create a structure that supports your creativity instead of stifling that. And that's what we're going to talk about. Ways to honor all of your passions while still running a business that feels aligned, sustainable, and actually profitable. I want to talk more about what it looks like to build a business as a multi-passionate creator. But first, we have to shift how we think about work and success. When people say just pick one thing, these people are assuming success only comes from specialization. But in reality, success comes from alignment and consistency. If you don't remember anything else, alignment, consistency as a multi-passionate creator. And that can look different for everybody. For some of us, that means blending all of these passions into one cohesive brand. That's kind of what I'm doing with Keishandrea Creates and Creatives Do Business Well. For others, it means managing multiple projects in a way that feels structured and intentional. That's what I've decided to do with my other business, Photos and Phases, my photography business. But either way, the goal isn't to fight your nature, work with it. And this is where understanding your own energy becomes very, very important. As a multi-passionate creator, we're not designed to do the same thing day in and day out. We need variety, we need cycles, and this is the wisdom that society has lost. The understanding that humans are not machines. We are not these little robots inside of this algorithm. We're not meant to produce at the same rate every single day. We have natural ebbs and flows just like everything else in nature. When you understand your own rhythms, when you know which times of day, which days of the week, which seasons of the year you're drawn to, which types of creations you like. And I talked more about this in episode 5, titled Why Most Creatives Hate Marketing and How to Make it Feel Good. So go back so you can get a gist of the Align framework, work that into your brand and your business. You can work with the patterns. You don't want to work against them. And being multi-passionate isn't a handicap anymore. People will still tell you that to this day, but I need you to know that it is actually an advantage. Anybody else telling you something different is small thinking. They are burning out doing the same thing every single day. And you're energized by the variety in your work. And this is where things get a little bit more interesting, because even though I'm all about flow and creativity, like I said, I'm a systems girl. Because let's be real, if you don't have some kind of structure, your passions are going to pull you in a million directions. That's when the overwhelm kicks in. So instead of seeing structure as limiting, I want you to think of it as a container for your creativity. Just think about how water work. If you spill it everywhere, it's chaotic. But if you put water in a glass, it becomes something useful. Structure is that glass. It holds your creativity without taking away its power. And when you have the right structure in place, you don't feel like you're all over the place. You stop abandoning projects because you actually have a plan for them. You create momentum instead of just throwing ideas out there. But here's the key to that. The structure has to be built for you, not something strict and rigid that you force yourself to follow because somebody said that was the only way. This is why when I work with multi-passionates, I'm asking them questions at the beginning before we do any work, how they do things, how they want their business to be run, because it's personalized to your situation, how your energy works, how you function, how you want your brand and your business to be. Your structure needs to honor your natural rhythms. It needs to make space for your different passions. It needs to be flexible enough to accommodate inspiration anytime that it strikes, but solid enough to keep you moving forward when your motivation dips at times. And most importantly, it needs to integrate all aspects of who you are: mind, body, spirit, and your energy. When these elements are in harmony, your creativity isn't just productive, it's transformative. It's going to make some things happen, evolve, and change. So I want you to think about how you currently work right now. Shift from a hustle environment to flow. Do you feel like you're constantly playing catch up? Do you get excited about a new idea only to lose that before you even finish it? Do you feel like your passions are working against you instead of for you? All of these are a sign that you need more alignment between your creativity and your workflow. It doesn't mean forcing yourself into somebody else's system. We're not doing that anymore. It means creating your own, one that lets you honor your gifts without running yourself into the ground. This is why I'm going to talk about human design until somebody tells me something that completely changes my mind about it, because I've learned so much about myself and how my energy functions. If you've been slacking on looking at your human design chart, you need to get into that. Another lie that society tells us: success requires hustling 24/7, pushing through exhaustion, and sacrificing everything else in your life. That approach isn't just unsustainable, it's counterproductive for most creatives. Your creativity thrives on rest, on space, on connection with life outside of your work. Most of the times when I have my best ideas, it comes from when I'm not actively working. When I'm in the shower or taking a walk or having a conversation about something completely unrelated, playing a game with my kids. That's because creativity isn't linear, a 9-to-5 schedule that society wants to impose on it. It doesn't follow the 9-to-5 schedule. So instead of hustling, we need to learn how to move with our creative energy rather than forcing it, how to build systems that support our natural rhythms instead of fighting against them. When you shift from hustle to flow, I'm from Memphis, so that's funny, everything changes. Work becomes energizing rather than draining. Your different passions feed each other instead of competing for your attention. And maybe the most important thing for you is to create from a place of abundance and not scarcity. So I said all this. How do we actually do this? How do we build a business that honors our multi-passionate nature while still being focused enough to succeed? I have a few suggestions that I found that works for me. Remember, I said works for me. So find what works for you. Try these out. First, identify what is common in all of your interests. What is that common thread? Maybe it's a specific audience that you want to serve. Maybe it's a specific problem you want to solve. Maybe it's a unique perspective that you bring to everything you do. Find that common thread and use that to bring all of your passions together. Second thing, consider working in seasons. I've recently gone through a course by one of the elders in my community where she teaches spirituality through nature and life. And this has taught me a lot about working with the seasons. Instead of trying to juggle all of your passions simultaneously, dedicate focus periods to different projects. Maybe your quarter 1 is for your visual art. Quarter 2 is for your writing. Quarter 3 is for your coaching program. This gives you the variety that you crave while still allowing for the focus that each project is going to need. Maybe in the wintertime, this is your time to be doing all the work home behind the computer screen. Then when spring comes around, that's when you're out and open and into the community. Work with the seasons in business and seasons of nature to find out what works for you. Third, build systems that are going to organize all of your ideas. I love Notion down. I'm going to speak up on this platform forever because number one, they keep innovating and they have so many features that help me to organize all of my ideas. And that's somebody who came from Trello, loved Trello, but it just wasn't enough for me. But I don't have that problem with Notion. As a multi-passionate creative, we are idea machines, but those ideas need somewhere to go. Create a system to record, create a system to categorize everything, revisit these inspirations so they don't get lost. Next, design a business model to accommodate multiple revenue streams. So instead of just relying on one way to make money, create a portfolio of different income sources that aligns with all of those different passions. And this not only honors your multifaceted nature, but it also creates more stability in your life and in your business. And then finally, surround yourself with people who get it, plain and simple. Find a community of other multi-passionate creatives who understand your challenges and celebrate your approach. This is really important in a world that misunderstands us. Having that support is invaluable because one wrong word from another person can get you off track. One wrong thought from yourself can get you off track. And sometimes you need your community to bring you back. This is what I want you to take from this. Being multi-passionate is not a flaw. It is a gift. It is your birthright. You don't have to fix this. You just have to learn how to harness it. You don't have to do everything at once. There is a time and a season for each of your passions. And when you work with that rhythm, things start to flow so much smoother. Having structure as a creative is not going to kill your creativity. It protects it. Find different ways to support your creative flow instead of fighting against that. Structure is going to be your best friend. And most importantly, give yourself permission to build a business that actually fits and works for you. Not some cookie cutter model that all of these business coaches and gurus and society has tried to force on you, or force on everyone for that matter, because the world does not need more people trying to fit themselves into boxes, robots, or what my 8-year-old son would say, NPCs. It needs people who have the courage to honor their unique gifts and bring them into the world in a way that's truly their own. What the world needs is exactly what you have to offer. Your unique combination of passions, perspectives, and talents, and not a diluted version of yourself that is going to fit neatly and perfectly into society's expectations. When you embrace your multi-passionate nature, you're not just building a business that works for you, you're also modeling a different way of working for others. You're helping to create a world where creativity is valued in all of its messy, multifaceted glory. And this is a powerful thing. Now, I would love to hear from you. What is one challenge that you face as a multi-passionate creative? If you're on Spotify, you can drop it in the comments or DM me, Substack, TikTok, because I promise you, you're not alone in this. And if you're ready to start building a business that actually works for you, one that honors all aspects of who you are, stick around. Make sure you stay tuned for the upcoming episodes because this is exactly what I help creatives do. And this is why I created Creatives Do Business Well. We can create businesses that don't just make money, but feel aligned with our whole selves, our mind, our body, our spirit, and our energy. Businesses that don't require us to dim our light or silence all of these different multiple passions that we have, but that actually thrive because of it. Till next time, keep creating, keep flowing, and remember, your multi-passionate nature isn't something that you have to overcome. It is your superpower. I'll see you in the next episode. Happy creating. Thank you so much for tuning in. Love today's episode. Go ahead and show us some love and support by leaving a 5-star review. Catch up with me at Keishandra Creates or Creatives Do Business Well. We want to reach more creatives like you, so be sure to tell your creative business friends and family about us. Don't just talk about it, be about it, and get out there and cultivate your gift and create the sustainable business you deserve.